Using Aftershoot to cull your images fast is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Well, hello everyone. So we're going to go off the topic for a little bit because I want to explain why I chose to use like Aftershoot for this culling process. It could be Lightroom, it could be Malio, it could be anything. It could even be Luminar, but Luminar wasn't designed or isn't designed to be a digital asset manager. Now you could easily go through and do the old-fashioned way and cull the images. Aftershoot so far, and again, I'm not endorsing it, neither is Skylum. I'm just telling you as a photographer, from one photographer to another, this is something I'm working on, and so far I'm liking it. What Aftershoot's gonna do for me is I'm gonna load, which I already preloaded it for you, a set of images from a photo shoot. It's gonna use artificial intelligence to go through and select what it feels is the best looking image out of all of those, and any of the images that look very similar is going to put those together so I could choose out of those which ones I feel is the best. Now it does a really good job on it. So with that, I'm going to show you what I did, but what I did do was import the images ahead of time because it took about 6 minutes for it to do its thing, and I didn't want to waste your time on that. So here we are. This is Aftershoot. This right here was the shoot that I did. It was for a good friend of mine with his beautiful dogs. He just loves these dogs. He treats them like they're his grandchildren. So when I hit, I can even start recalling now. Notice it took 6 minutes and 4 seconds. If I hit start recalling now, I don't want to clear what I already did, but it's going to be a little bit faster. It's going to look through and say, all right, how do you want me to cull these images? Do you want me to be lenient, moderate, or strict when it comes to blurry photos? I like moderate. How do you want me to group the duplicates? Lenient, moderate, strict, or extremely, or extreme rather. So this right here, I looked at and I found strict does a really good job at finding the duplicates for me. And then selections or sections and duplicate set. Now this is when, let's say you're doing rapid shots, and let's say if you're a sports photographer or a wedding photographer and you have 5 or 6 images or even bird photography that look almost identical. This is where it's going to take those, put them into a duplicate set, and then you choose out of the best, well, it'll choose for you, but then you could override it and pick what you feel is actually the best. So from here, I don't want that many. So like the top 10 images from a duplicate set will be chosen. Here's 20% and so on. I'm going to stick to less. Now the amount of highlights it's going to choose, so I'm going to tell it to pick 20%. And then I'm going to start culling. Now, at this point, the original time took about 6 minutes. This should be much faster. All right? That's number one. Number two, after a while, it starts to understand what you're selecting, and it kind of conforms to your style. So here it is. So it did all 3 of those. And now it selected 17 images. It said 6 of those it felt were the highlights. Let's look at the eyes closed. So, okay, so here it thought that the eyes looking down was closed. These are images it felt were either blurry. These were the ones out of each of the sets. So I photographed us at a restaurant, and well, let's just click on it. There's 4 of them right here. Here are the 4, or 5. Yeah, so it chose these 5 out of that particular set. Then notice it went on to a different set. where it was the individual dog. Then it went on to this set where I had two of the dogs together, or both dogs together, and it's trying to look from here which ones out of this set, within a set, are the best. And then we have this one here. Good. Now, if I'm looking at these, if I decide, you know what, I like this one better than that one, well, I can come in here, change the rating to 5, and let's say bring this one down to 2. So now that could be the one I could use. All right. And then, of course, all the the selected image. So it's selected out of 105 images. Oh, that's a cute one. It's suggesting that these 18, and plus the ones within the set, are the ones that I should be using. All right. So with that being said, let me save this first. So now, here's the cool part. I want to export those 23 images. So at this point, I could take these 23, export it. If you're into Lightroom, you can export them directly into Lightroom, or I'm going to export them, which we want, for a folder so I can put them into, to make them a reference for Luminar Neo. So where do I export them? Well, here's selected, here's highlights. I'm going to just pick the selected. I'm going to choose my destination folder. And in this case here, here's the original folder that I had them in. Here they are here. So what I'm going to do is create a subfolder inside here. And name it selected images. And select. Good. Check to make sure everything is all set. Now I could pick from the star ratings, and again, you can pick any of these, how you want it to export. You either move the photos or copy them. In this case, I'm just going to copy them for now. I have a choice of renaming them and so on. Copy the folder or copy the images. And we're done. Great. Now I'm going to close out of this just because I want to make sure that I have the proper resources. There we go. Now, when I did this, let me pull this up over here for you. It actually opened up my folder, and it shows that those images were indeed exported over to that folder. Now we're inside Luminar Neo. From here, we'll do it the way we've always done it. I'm going to click on the plus icon to add a folder. I'm going to browse my hard drive where those images are. And like we said before, I put them in underscore photography. I know it was under Oswald. And it was Bob and Ursula. And here's selected. So notice if I were to select the top folder here, all of those images, including the selected folders, will come in. But for now, I just want those images here. And boom, look how fast that was. So now at this point, I brought the images in and I can start to begin my edits. All right. Now, again, just to save time, I know I brought it in as a single, there we are. So here's a single image edit that I brought in. And again, I would normally come down here and choose from these. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, here are selected images. So what I should have done, which I could probably, well, I should rename this right here. And instead of putting selective images, because as you can see, it's going to start causing confusion. I could rename it. What were I feel so bad. The dog's name again were, I know Ursula. Oh, right there, Bella. I feel so guilty. So Bella and Ursula. Let's see. Yep. One moment, somebody's popping in the chat, so it's stopping me from here. There we go. And why is that? Let me do this. All right. So where did I have it? Right here? Yep. So, okay, so I could just rename it. Bella and Ursula, or Esla, selected images. All right. So, I'm not sure why I didn't select it. Oh. Anyways, so I have it here. And again, I would rename that properly so I don't get confused. But like I said, I did bring one in, and we'll start with this image here. So look how quick I can go through. And now that I know they have the best looking images, I can start my edits from here. Here, let me, of course, it's taking a little second. Zoom is chewing up my resources here. But one moment. There we go. Here's before. There's after. And instead of taking you through the complete edit of what I did, what I'm going to do is show you under the edits. It was real simple. I started with the raw processor. Then from here, I did add a glow all the way around. But with that glow, I didn't want it on the dog's face. I almost said children. On the dog's face. So I did apply a mask. So I masked out these areas here, but kept the glow all the way around. Then added details. And with adding the details, let's see if I masked it. Yep, I did. So I added detail, but just to their faces, and made sure the rest of it wasn't added. And then, of course, I finished off with a vignette where I did add inner light to their face here. All right. So that's how, again, so that's how we could use a program like ShootProof. In fact, let me get back to the catalog, where we could use ShootProof here to cull all those images. And now from here, I could decide, well, what do I want to do at this point? Since these are in fact, that was the image here. And yes, I did go through and already spent time erasing the collars or the chain. And then, of course, started with the edits from there. And then what I showed you was a quick one on how I completed the rest of the edit. So, but look how easy it is and what it does for us, that we can start picking the best of our images quick, but we still have access to the entire shoot. All right? So, Carl, let me open it up for discussion. Oh, you're muted.
After you call the images and you exported them, if you shoot in both RAW and JPEG, will it bring both sets of images over?
I'm glad you brought. So notice when we call the images, right? Look right down here. Oh, you know what, Carl? I did this just for you, and I can't believe I'm not using it. There we go. So if you notice right down here, it is a raw file. Oh, let me share my screen. Carl, see what I did for you? So here's the highlighter. Notice it brought it in as a raw file, because all it did was copy those images into a folder for me. So now if I were to go back and redid all those culling again, and then selected the exporting, well, now that it's already inside Neo, it'll automatically appear. I don't have to do anything else. All right? Did that answer your question?
Can you, can
Yes,
you use,
thank you.
can you use Aftershoot for previous shoots that you
Yes.
never run?
Yes, can I use Aftershoot for previous shoots? That's what this was. So you could use it on, now where I made the first mistake is I tried to put in something like 18,000 photos. And so I called my buddy and said, man, this thing is slow, really, really slow. I can't use it. He said, well, how many images you brought in? I don't know, 18,000? He goes, Vanelli, it's called Aftershoot. You use it after you do the shoot. I said, oh, now it makes sense. Bring in just a small group, and then I can go back and delete that afterwards so it doesn't. And all it is just making a reference to much like Luminar Neo is. So it's not adding those images again and again and again. You're choosing whether or not to move them to that selected folder or to copy them over. Now, I hate deleting photos, but there are some of these images that I would definitely delete if they're blurry. If I did the traditional, oops, I shot my foot, with a picture. If the image doesn't look good, delete those. Why have them? But I do like the idea that I have the root folder up on top, and on the bottom, what I may start doing is I may end up moving the images instead of copying them. So they're still in the same folder, but the difference is they're separated between all of them, and on the bottom, these are the best of the images up here. Then I can always inside Neo, if I make a change and say, oh, let's look at some of the old photos I took, or I'm sorry, the original set. I like this one. I can just drag and drop it into the new folder, and now I reorganized them. All right. So, who was it? Joe, you had a question, and then Neo.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could give us the before and after look of that edit that you did.
From well, yeah. So I apologize that wasn't the focus of today's episode. So I didn't save in betweens, which I wish I did, because if you notice this was a repair job. This particular image.
Have your screen.
Yeah, thank you. This particular image was definitely a repair job. So I had to do quite a well. It's funny. I guess it's all relevant now. When I say I had to do a lot of work, in the old days, spending an hour to 2 hours was well, that's normal. Here, when I say I spent a lot of work, it's me just doing this. So really, I mean, I fixed the exposure here, then painstakingly went through, and let me get rid of that. Then painstakingly went in and did some of the erasing, but I went through, erase each piece at a time. Now, if we had the clone and stamp tool together ready, then a lot of this would have been cloned. But like I said, it did a good job, but it was definitely time consuming erasing the leashes. Now, where we were photographing this, we weren't allowed to take them off the leash. So I had to keep the leashes on them during the shoot. Otherwise, I would have just removed them, and they were so well behaved, we didn't have to worry about them. All right, Neo,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Yeah, but Vanelli was just wondering whether you would recommend this as opposed to Adobe Bridge 22.
Okay, so the difference between them, and don't get me wrong, I still use Bridge because Windows absolutely is horrible at letting me view my images. You're comparing apples to oranges. Bridge,
Okay.
yeah, Bridge is strictly, hey, let's check out these images, look at them. Yeah, you can, call them up, but it's a very watered down version of Lightroom. Whereas I would rather do it all in Neo before I would do it in Bridge, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but then with Aftershoot, it's using the AI technology to find which images it feels be based on blurriness, based on composition, based on the sets that you did. It's determining which one it feels is the best, but you still can decide which one you want. So it makes it quicker.
And Bridge doesn't have that capability, correct?
No, no.
Okay, so I have taken the time to install Aftershoot, and I'll give it a look today. Thank you.
Yep. And again, I'm not endorsing it because I can't, as a Skylum employee, I'm not endorsing it. As Vanelli, the photographer, I'm telling you this is something I see value in, because again, Neo isn't designed to be a digital asset manager, and I don't want it to be. Because if it were, then we're into that old, oh my God, it's slow as molasses, because it's doing too many things. All right, Dale?
Well, I respect your opinion, Vanilli, and that's why I'm going for it. So thank you, buddy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Dale?
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions. One, I assume when you copy those images out, all of the data is there in terms of metadata. Does it have the opportunity to add any metadata to say, these are my starred ones or
Exactly. In Aftershoot, you can. And Aftershoot, you can. We don't have that. See, right now, Aftershoot is dying to work with us. They want, like how they have the Lightroom. Could you imagine this? How they have the Lightroom built right in. Could you imagine if they had Luminar AI, Luminar Neo built in, to where you just click the button, it exports it to a folder, puts it inside Neo for you, without you having to do anything, and it has the star ratings along with the colors and so on. We don't have the star ratings, so we don't have that part of our metadata.
but Aftershoot can set metadata on that.
Exactly. So it'll still be there. We just can't view it.
But they're adding metadata as opposed to what's there.
No, it's whatever is already there. They're either editing that metadata, or you could actually add, all the metadata is already there.
Right.
You decide if you want to add 5-star to it, green, or whatever.
Okay, so stars is essentially the additional metadata that they allow.
Yeah, and colors, and I think, and keywords.
Okay. Oh, keywords. There we go. There's the good one. And then the other question is, I saw that you're on Windows. I assume it's on Mac. And then the other question was relative to the free version versus the pro version or the paid for version. Do you know the difference?
I'm sorry. Shame on me.
Okay.
Our philosophy is teach, don't tell. So or show, don't tell. So I should have went, so I apologize for that. Maybe Carl will figure it out.
To answer Dale's question a little bit more. So both raw images and JPEG can carry ratings as part of their metadata in the actual source file. I'm not sure if Aftershoot's modifying the source file to add the rating data, but it certainly can. So JPEG would be the excess data and raw just has it.
Exactly. Thank you, Carl. Nick?
After you select your photos and you exported a file, now if you do enough of this, you're duplicating those pictures that are on your hard drive.
So the way I did it, yeah.
In there as a virtual folder in Aftershoot, so you don't have to.
Yeah, no. So that's why I prefaced it. The way I did it, I normally wouldn't do it, but I'm just starting out new with this, so I didn't want to take a chance of deleting or moving my images around. But once I get the hang of it, I could see me, like you just saw. I caught a speed bump where I named it selected images. Well, what if I had 30 selected images? 30 folders called selected images. So instead, I would put the name of the shoot underneath it in the subfolder and dash selected images. So now I know exactly where they came from, or I could just import or ingest all of those images. So you have a choice there. What I did was I copied it. In the future, I think I would say move. So this way it's not adding more images to my collection. But until I feel more comfortable with this, I don't want to delete or move or mess with any of my images where they are. All right, I hope that answered it.
Yep.
All right, RG?
Yeah, my question really is somewhat the same. If you have a situation where you have duplicates of the same image, will this go in and say, this is a duplicate, we have 3 of the same, let's get rid of 2 of them?
Yeah. So that's where, again, like I said, I copied them instead of moved them. If I moved them, we wouldn't have this issue. But copying them, yeah, that's, now you're adding, now you can get confused, because what if I brought that in, edited that raw file, but not the one up on top, in the root folder.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, because I'm just, I just received the software not too long ago. Carl, I think I got you a copy to mess with. If not, let me know. But the whole concept here is, and I'll get to Phil's question in a moment, how are you culling your images now? Are you pulling them in and hand selecting your favorites? Me personally, from that photo shoot that we did with Carl, of the children of the Patterson family, let me pull that up real quick. So, there's Carl smiling. By the way, I gave Carl a haircut, which, Carl, I may show everyone that image later. Let's see. All right, so these were just test shots in the beginning. Okay, here we go. So I would say, all right, all of these images from here, to here are the same. So I would pick one out of all of those. Then this image from here down to here of him, right there, I'm sorry, right about there, is the same. I would pick one image out of all of those. So now we have 2 images out of those little subsets. And then his little brother, he's in front of the tree, in front of the tree, in front. Now he's behind. So I would pick what's the best out of these, and then from there, and then once I had start doing all that stuff, then I would start to go back through and say, all right, good, now that I narrowed it down by first pass, here's my second pass. And then my final pass out of all of these images, maybe each child out of, 130 images will get maybe 4 images each. So because they're so similar, all right? But can you see how a program like Aftershoot does all that for me? But it still gives you that power to go back and change it. All right, Phil?
Yeah, I just don't see how the Aftershoot is making it, it's making a decision for me as to what I like in a particular photo shoot. I shoot a lot of birds in flight. I shoot machine gun shots, obviously, because I'm
Yep.
following the bird across the sky. To a program, even an AI program, they're all going to
Yep.
look alike.
I got your answer.
When I examine them for sharpness and specific things I'm looking for in a particular shoot, I don't believe that an after-shoot program could make that
The same decision. So, do you remember what I said earlier? It learns from you.
What you said.
It learns from you. So if it does all those selections and like I just changed the selection, it remembers that for the next one. And it'll look at that and go, oh, wait a second.
It is a truly, it's artificial intelligence, but it's a learning artificial.
Yeah, so it'll start to pick up your patterns. But if you look at it, especially bird photography, and if you're machine gunning it, you have to look through, let's just say, 30 frames to see which one is the sharpest. This will do a much better job, obviously, because it zooms right in and it knows, oh, here's an eyeball. Is that eye sharp or not? Like, I thought some of these images were sharp.
So I could use the program just to show me the sharpest image.
Exactly. Or the blurry images.
Save me some time.
Yeah,
going
but
through each one.
exactly. But here's the thing, though. It does come with a price tag, right? What is it per year, Carl?
It's $9.99 a month.
What?
$54 yearly.
Oh, $9.99 a month. I thought you said $99 a month. I was like, what?
14-day free trial. The pro version, the free version doesn't have AI culling, only manual culling.
Okay. So how much is it for a year? I thought it was $100. Or is it more?
It's the same amount as the Adobe Photoshop Lightroom.
Yeah. So
$9.95 a month.
So yeah, so you have to decide, if it's worth it. In other words, is it worth $100 for the year? And let's say you keep it for 4 years, that's $400 you could have put towards a lens, or towards other camera gear, or towards a trip. So notice I didn't mention cruise. So you have to decide. Like for my friend Richie Acevedo, for wedding photography, oh, this is perfect for him. Because he spends at least 2 hours after a wedding trying to figure out which images they want to use. And then he starts editing them. So for wedding photographers, I could definitely see that. For people who are, Mike Cabasi, a real good example, he's on a movie set right now for this with Kelsey Grammer. He's shooting something like 32 gigs a day, if not more. He has thousands of photos he has to go through. He would love this, but there's no way you're going to experiment and teach somebody something new on that major of an assignment. So he, instead of going out with the crew, he has to go back to his hotel room, do extra work after the shoot, and then go out afterwards and eat. But can you see where this would definitely help him? At least select the best or narrow it down for him that he can give to the art director. So,
Thank you, Vanelli.
yep. Bobby?
Yes, I was wondering how it would do with exposure bracketing.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't have that answer because you're purposely making one perfect, one under, one over, 2 underexposed, 2 overexposed. So
I wonder if I would just select out, I don't do a whole shoot with bracketing. It's interspersed with other things, so I might have to select what I need.
yeah, well, I know you can set the frequency. So let's say it I know in Lightroom, if you're doing bracketing, you could tell it, hey, bracket all these images that were shot within this length of time. And then it'll bracket those images for you. So I'm not quite sure what that does, but good question. All right, so we're going over. What I'm going to do is wrap it up here and then stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. All right, so guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.